So I'm going to get beaten up for this talk, and not because I'm using notes. I'm just not as smart as everyone else that didn't need them. I'm going to get beaten up for what I'm about to say. People are going to question what I'm talking about. They're going to question my stats. Some may even question my parents' marital status on the day I was born. But here goes. Stop giving your time and money to organizations that simply build houses, schools, and clinics in Africa. You're not helping. You're actually part of the problem. So, Africa needs your mind and not your muscles. They need your knowledge and not your ability to physically build something. Let's just look at education. In Nigeria, in 31 countries in Africa, 3/4 of the teachers are trained to any acceptable standard. In Niger, 1 instructor for every 1,300 children. In some areas, someone who's graduated and 1 month of training, they are now eligible to be a teacher. The need for that knowledge is critical, and it's not limited to just Africa. Unfortunately, it's global. And that's what I want to talk about. Although I talk about Africa, I want you to pick the place that you go to do the work. It can be anywhere. It can be the Congo. It could be Burkina Faso. It could be rural Brazil. It could be right in your own backyard. So let's focus a little bit on need and what I've seen. On a trip to Zanzibar, I had an opportunity to go to a clinic. I get to the clinic, we get the tour, we go into a room, he opens it up, there's a locked closet. Inside the locked closet is a baby incubator. I asked the nurse, well, how long has that been there? She said, I've been here 2 years. It's been locked in that room for 2 years. The group that dropped it off dropped this and a wheelbarrow off. They shook hands, they took the photos, and then they left. No training. The wheelbarrow, I thought about that. Well, why is the wheelbarrow there? The guy said, well, when they left, they made a request. Please keep this in good working order. Make sure it's in good condition. So the guy who ran the clinic thought, you know what? Best we keep it under lock and key unless they come back and see that it got dirty. Now, the group that made that donation, that was not their intention, but that was the outcome. So, we leave the clinic, we're heading back to Stonetown. We go by an empty lot. In this lot were 10 or 12 European or North American university students, hot day sun working. Some were digging a ditch, some were stacking bricks, some were mixing concrete. Across the street were 30 or so young Zanzibar men watching them. Let's look at some stats. In Zanzibar, the unemployment rate officially sits at about 35%. However, some groups say unofficially it's actually at 85%. The average construction wage for 1 month is $63. So I got to think, why are they watching while the university students are building? Is the skill set that the university students have really limited to physical labor? Couldn't they have been doing a more critical task? Perhaps the university students could have been at a local school, working with the IT department, working with the teachers, doing some training. Or maybe they could have got some entrepreneurs together and said, hey guys, let's start a business. And you know what we're going to do? It's going to be a construction company. And guess what? We're going to build schools. They're going to get locals involved in that project. Or, and I wanted to ask them, do any of you know how to run and train someone on a baby incubator? Because I know where one is just sitting. So, that got me thinking about building human capacity and how right now that perhaps is way more critical than something about physical bricks and mortars. That's not what's needed. I then thought about what can I do? What's my skill set? My skill set is IT and mentoring youth. I said, okay, I'm going to focus on that. However, what I'm suggesting to you is find what you're good at. Find what you know that you can share and just go over and do it. If you can't think of anything that you're capable of delivering, just the fact that one, you figured out how to get here and watch this, or you know how to understand the words coming out of my mouth, or you can read a newspaper, or you can use Google to do a basic search, you have a much needed skill set. Even just conversational English at a school, going to a clinic, finding the IT people, working with the nurses, get them the training that you think or they think they need, and make a project out of it. To me, that is much more important than the physical asset that I may or may not be able to build. if we look at the photos behind me, this is the project work that we chose as our organization to do. And our organization is never going to have 1 million people. We started with 2, we're up to 17. But in this photo, they're taking training. They're sitting around the computers, they're sitting around a table, they're looking at documents. We're talking about business. We're talking about public speaking. We're talking about how critical it is to be on time for a meeting. And it's not very exciting. To be honest, these photos are not as great if I was to come home and show my kids, look, here's your dad in front of a school, or look at this house that I built. I showed them this and they said, Dad, what are you doing? And I said, well, I'm working hard, with the exception of the corner picture. I'm actually showing them Angry Birds. But they asked, they wanted to see it. That's what they wanted to see. So the idea here is to go forward with a project that you understand, something that you feel that you can deliver. And if you go, and I hope you all go, you have to be ready to get out of your comfort zone. You have to be ready to get out of your physical comfort zone, because I'm not talking the tourist places. I'm talking off the beaten path. You're going to see things, you're going to hear things, you are going to smell things that are very different than what you most likely know. But in doing so, you're also going to meet some amazing people. We had an opportunity to go to Bukavu. And in Bukavu, at one of the schools, there was a session going on next door, and I asked our translator, well, what's going on? He goes, oh, it's a session for 50 or so unwed mothers. I said, oh, great, can I listen in? I'm interested to hear what they're going to talk about. No problem. So I'm in the back, and I'm listening. And they're talking, and then I hear, and I don't understand it, because it's in a different language, but I hear them mention HIV/AIDS. So I asked my translator, is that an issue here? And he goes, well, let me thought about it. He says, okay, wait. He then interrupted the room, and he asked a question. 6 hands went up. 6 out of 50 women in that room were HIV positive. That's 12%. And I looked around the room and wow. So we left. I get back and I'm telling my partners this story. I tell them what happened. 6 hands went up. The translator says, oh no, sir. No. You misunderstood. I did not ask how many women in the room had HIV. I asked how many women here have not tested positive for HIV. 44 women kept their hands down. 88% of the room was HIV positive. Now, why do I tell that story? Well, maybe, just maybe, I've planted a seed. Maybe somebody out there is going to say, you know what? I can go over to Bukavu. I can find those people. I can get them into a local technical school. We can get them to form a co-op of some type. We can take the products that they produce, we can bring them back to Calgary, we can sell them in Canada. Do I have to pay GST on imported items from Bukavu? Where the heck's Bukavu? Well, I'll tell you where it is. It's a small little city in the Congo, and to get there you have to walk across a wooden bridge, and when you walk across the bridge there's going to be a guy there, and he's going to have a big ledger, and you're going to hand him your passport, and he's going to write it down. And then he's going to give it back to you and say, now, when you leave, you have to come see me. Okay, and I said, well, how do I know if you're working? And he took offense at that. He says, hey, if I'm here, I'm working. Okay, understood. I got it. So, Africa needs your help, but I would suggest they need your knowledge, not your physically or your ability to physically build something. When you go, and I hope you all go, you are going to be able to do things there that have real impact. Make a plan. Get ready to have that plan turned upside down. It's going to change. They always do. But it's going to be exciting. It's going to be difficult, but it's going to be exciting. And the other thing that I can absolutely promise you, you will get more out of this than you ever put in. So, just go. Get a product, or get a project, make a path, find friends to go with, go do big things in faraway lands, and do something great. Do it with your mind, not your muscles. They need your ability to teach and your ability to pass on the information. And why? Because knowledge changes everything. Thank you.